Well, good afternoon. Happy Saturday to you. Dr. Preston Ray Winfrey here, and what a joy, what a delight it is for me to have this opportunity once again to greet you on another Saturday afternoon. How in this world are you? I guess you may be asking, well, why do you always ask, how in this world am I? Well, I don't know what other world you would be in, but this is a good world to be in, and to be clothed in your right mind, have a reasonable portion of health and strength. What a blessing, right? And what a joy it is to have faculties that are working for you and working with you. It's good to be here, and I hope that you're having a great week. Hope that your week has been a great one so far. I have had a very good week, and I am so thankful that things are as well as they are. I'm grateful. I have health, strength, breathing on my own, and I'm reasonably healthy, and I'm thankful. What about you? Are you thankful for what you have and what the Lord has done for you? We really can't claim anything, you know, hey, I've done this and I lived so right. I've, pushed all the right buttons. The truth of the matter is, sometimes we don't really know what buttons to push, if there are any buttons to be pushed. So we live day by day, and we live that way um, with a thankful heart. Well, today's talk, and you may have seen the title, and the title for today's inspiration is, it's a question. I don't have to pretend. Yeah, and let me just answer up front. You don't have to pretend. One of the things that we have learned to develop in life is the ability to pretend. This started early in life, right? We call it make believe, going into the world that could be you. We make believe, and to this end, it starts out as a game. You know, I'm pretending to be this person. I pretend to be this thing. From being superheroes, cartoons, our favorite people, sometimes things in life, things in the world that I want to be, and I say, this is what I am. Teacher once told us in grade school about a friend of his who pretended that he was a bird. And unfortunately, his life tragically ended because he was up on a cliff, a high cliff, and said he was a bird and he could fly like a bird. And unfortunately, he had no wings, and just flapping his hands did not do it. And so his life ended, and we might say prematurely. It is not believed that it was his time to go, but because his pretensions had gotten away from him, and he just thought perhaps that he could fly. He saw the birds do it, and so this game starts early with us. We start pretending. We pretend to be parents, right? I'm the mom. I'm the dad. We pretend to be grown up. So we want to be in a hurry to drink coffee and do those things that adults do. And isn't life strange that when you finally get the chance to be an adult, how the tables turn and we kind of, sort of, almost, perhaps hate being adults, because of the decisions that we have to make, and those decisions rather are so final. And many times the decisions we make are costly. You know, you don't mind making mistakes if it's going to cost someone else, but when you have to pay for it, oh my God, things drastically change, right? Can you remember when you were young and living at home with your parents, and how you used to waste energy, electricity, water, let the water just run, especially if they were on a meter? Let the lights stay on. You want to turn the um, heat up, sometimes to the max, leave the windows open, keep the doors open. Refrigerator, you didn't care anything about compressors or freezers. Open the refrigerator and just stand there sometimes just looking in, say, ooh, this is my air conditioner. And but then once you became the adult and had to pay the bill for utilities and the like, how different things turned for you. As a matter of fact, even if when your parents came to visit you, you didn't even want them to sit in certain seats. You know, no, no, don't sit in there. Come in here. And they say it's dark in here. Yeah, well, I'm trying to save on electricity. I got bills to pay. It's amazing how those things. We pretend to be grown. We pretend to be large and in charge. We pretend to be supervisors. I can recall growing up, we were in church, and but how we would come home and pretend church. We'd play church, right? I played the preacher, and I would hold a little comb in my hand, and that was my microphone, and just pretending, having fun. We pretend to be these great solo singers, and pretending, just pretending to be supervisor. Uh, we would mock people and say, this is how so and so talks, this is how so and so walks, right? And we became great pretenders. Well, the problem that can develop with pretending is we sometimes forget who we are, what we are, and how we really are. We forget. In so doing, we speak and act so as to make it appear that something is the case when it is not the case at all. That's pretending. And sometimes we become so good at pretending that we have difficulty differentiating that which is make believe and that which is real. And I should say that there is a system in place that our great and all wise Creator has put in place. And He will always keep it 100. Now, I know we justify our pretensions. You know, we pretend sometimes that we don't hear people talking to us when we know they're talking to us. We pretend we didn't see a person when we know we saw them, right? You know how we play those games. But then what happens is when we do it long enough and often, it becomes a part of our fabric. And we have difficulty escaping that make believe world. And many people, for them, that make believe have become so real to them that they just cannot separate themselves away. They can't see themselves functioning any different from what they have made up in their minds it's going to be. And don't you know, that's not realistic. That's not being real, because we have to keep it real. And if we do not keep it real, then we will be forced into the realization of what is really real. So, this system that I just spoke of that is in place, the Lord, our all wise Creator, He put this thing in place a long time. As a matter of fact, He put it in place before the foundations of this world were ever created, because he knew what we would be. He knew how we would be. He knew that we would try to give people the impression that we're one way when we're really another way. How many people have you been in conversation with talking about just whatever, and they said no when they really were saying yes? And for some apparent reason, they want you to figure out, they want you to guess. And, if you guessed correct, they can say, well, no, that's not how I feel. So we developed this game playing a long time ago. And over the years, over time, we have perfected it. But no matter how you perfect your pretensions, you are still pretending. And at some point, you're going to reach a crossroads where it's going to meet you and you're going to have to deal with your pretensions. You know, it takes an honest person to um, to come to terms with, I need to really have this honest conversation. I need to have an honest conversation with at least two individuals. First one is, I need to have an honest conversation with myself. I need to be able to say to myself, you are dreaming and you need to wake up. I need to also have a conversation with my Creator. I need to humble myself before Him and say, okay, you know what? You are right. You're trying to point me in the right direction. And I insist on going in the wrong direction. You know, there are so many Bible characters who pretended, right? You know, here you got Adam and Eve. Adam, who wouldn't say anything. He pretended he was innocent, until the Lord just went on ahead and went there with him, busted the brother completely out, asked him, where are you? And when he finally did open his mouth, he still wouldn't come straight with the Lord. He said, well, it's that woman you gave me. What did he do? Literally, he slapped the Lord in the face, saying, it ain't my fault that I did wrong. It's your fault. I was doing okay. Me and these animals were getting along just fine. I didn't have no problem. But when you gave me this woman, yeah, well, that's the woman that you named. So you want to try it again? And of course, she pretended that it wasn't her fault. She said, well, it was the snake. The snake, got so Adam and Eve hooks up, right? And they get out there and they raise Cain. Cain was a doozy. He had something within him that when he was born in sin, jacked up already from the floor up. And the day came when he became so jealous of his brother, the fact that his brother's offering, sacrifice, was accepted above his. And what happened? God approached Cain and said, hey, why are y'all jacked up in your mind? And he said, no, I'm cool. He said, no, you're not cool. He said, no, I'm good. No, you're not good. He said, I see your expression. I'm looking at your body language. I know what's in your heart. I know what's in your mind. And I know what you're about to do. As a matter of fact, if you keep walking, sin is right there waiting to snatch you and take you where you really don't want to go, where you don't need to go. He kept pretending, and guess what? He got took by a look. He got caught, and he murdered his brother. I mean, just go straight through of people who pretended to be one thing or one way when they knew they weren't. Look at the prodigal son, who pretended that he had this thing all together. Oh, I'm good. I got what I need. I got my money. and I've got all these friends. He kept pretending, but you know, the rubber eventually hit the road, and he had to face the harsh reality that he was not all that in a bag of chips. And don't you know, sometimes we are like that. And he kept trying to make this thing work. He kept trying to put this round peg into a square hole, and it just would not fit. And sometimes you and I find ourselves doing the same thing. We're just going to make it fit. We're going to make it right, right? And knowing full well that it's not going to go. And no matter how you pray, no matter how you try, some things just not going to fit in certain places. And so we have to come to grips with, wait a minute, what am I doing? Am I going in the right direction? Am I going in the wrong direction? We have to come and confess that I'm going in the wrong direction. Why is it so difficult for me to do? Because I want to pretend that I am not wrong, that I am right. I want to pretend that everybody is speaking well of me, when the truth being told, everyone does not speak well of me. And there are people who will smile in your face, pat you on the back, and stab you in the back at the same time. And unfortunately, it is not always people that you do not know. There are a lot of people who you do know, who you want to believe have your back, but they do have your back, but sometimes they have it the wrong way. Paul rather, who at one point he has now grown in the Lord, he loves the Lord, he has developed a good and personal relationship with the Lord, but he was given a thorn in his flesh. And he just figured, I can just pray this thing away. I've prayed before and other things left. I've prayed, I've been successful. I'll just pray. I'll put this before the Lord. I'll believe with all my heart. I'll have faith. I'll fast. I'll trust. I will believe. And I know that the Lord will deliver me. But what happened, or as we say, what had happened was Paul's thorn did not subside. It remained in his flesh. And finally, he has this conversation with the Lord. And he says, Saul, why are you persecuting me? I'm sorry, that was before. He didn't ask that question at this point. He simply said to Paul, Paul, that thorn you have, I sent that as a messenger from Satan. And I sent this on purpose because I did not want you to start thinking more highly of yourself than you needed to. Yes, you have had many success stories. You've been beaten with rods, you've been bitten by serpents. Yes, you've been chased by your so-called friends. All of those things. And yes, I delivered you from all those things. But here's one that I'm not going to withdraw it from you. You're going to have to deal with it. Because when you are weak, then you're strong. I need you to put on your corrected visions or glasses and understand that I know what is best for you. Well, you know, Paul finally got it. And once he understood what the Lord was doing and saying, he said, you know what? Then most gladly will I endure this suffering and this pain and this torment because I get it now. That when I am weak, I'm strong. So Lord, if you have to hurt me to strengthen me, then Lord, go ahead and do it. You remember Jacob back in the Old Testament, you know, before he could get the crown, he had to deal with the crutches. Sometimes the Lord has to break us down, has to take some things away from us, has to remove the props from underneath us before he can reward us. And so I am saying to you, as you ask the question, I don't have to be, I don't have to pretend. No, you do not have to pretend. You don't have to go through the rest of your life acting as if you have it all together. There are days you have it together, and there are days when you don't have it together. As a matter of fact, there are some days when you just flat out lose it, right? Have you been there? I've been there, oh my gosh, many times. And it's okay. It's okay when you have to cry. It's okay when you don't know the answer to the questions that they toss your way. It's okay when you haven't figured out life's equations. But do understand, there finally is freedom. When you come to terms with the fact that I do not have to pretend, there are those days when I can really say, I just don't know. And be all right with not knowing. Be all right not being popular all of the time. It's okay. It's okay for someone else to be on center stage and you be in the background. It's even okay to be a part of the audience. You know, you don't have to be visible to be who you were meant to be. You just need to be who you are and not who you are not. You can be freed from this thing of pretension, and those who the Son set free, guess what? They are free indeed. And I'm wondering today, are you tired of pretending? Are you tired of pretending that you've got it together when you know it has all come apart on you? I'm not saying roll over and play dead. I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am saying, be kind to yourself. Understand that time waits on no one. And time is a revealer of who we are, what we are, and how we are. And the sooner we can come to grips with who I am, what I am, and how I am, the better off we're going to be. You know, God so loved you that he gave what? His only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but shall have everlasting life. So, Paul one day said, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I thought as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put aside childish things. In other words, I just quit pretending. And don't you know, there's great relief when you don't have to pretend, when you can just be who you are instead of who you are not. You can go to bed at night knowing who you are, sleep through the night, wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm still me. Get to know who you are. What makes me me are the negatives and the positives, the pluses and the minuses. Knowing that I have weaknesses and I have strengths. And I do not need to overemphasize any of those because they're going to come out when I least expect it. And if I pretend long enough, somebody is going to put me in touch with reality because that's the system that the Lord has put in place. So I want to encourage you today, this Saturday, make up in your mind, I'm not going to pretend anymore. I'm going to be myself. But be the best of who you are. And you would be amazed just how better off your life will be and how more pleasant you will be as an individual. Hey, this is Dr. Winfrey saying thank you for joining me. And it's been a great afternoon. I love you. God loves you. Hope that you have a good rest of today and hope that you have a better week on next week. We at Pioneer want to say we love you. And if you do not have a church worship service that you attend, I want to encourage you to join us there at Pioneer. We will be streaming live at 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday morning, right here on these same two channels, Facebook and on YouTube. But more than that, we will be in person, 315 East, 161st Place in South Holland, Illinois. Share this with your friends. Go ahead and click on that share. Also, don't forget to click on the notification bell so that when we are on live, you will receive notification. Okay? Until we meet again, may the Lord bless you, and you real good. I love you and have a great rest of this day. Keep your hand on the throttle. And your eye on the rail. That's it, Savior. Now will guide us till we reach that blissful shore. There the angel will join in. Where are they going to join? They're going to join in that praise forevermore. Okay, I'll see you. Have a good one.